Thank you, Bill. That was Bill Cochran, who has been our town crier throughout the weekend, and he has just been marvelous. I'm going to interrupt here just a second, with your permission, to tell you of two little things which has happened to me and my wife since we came to this convention. Friday night in Expo, a couple came on from Southern California and awarded my wife and I an award which has only been made 10 times in the last 35 years or so, and this is only the second time it ever came to New England, and it's an award Society from California. Even as touching, if not last evening, I think it was, we received the key to the city of South Portland. These awards, people, as we look at them, make us feel real good, but really and truly, we never could have received either one if it wasn't for the square dancers here in New England, and the friendship which they have extended to my wife and I, and all the courtesies, and especially these nice people here in Maine this past weekend. We've been vacationers here in Maine for many, many years, and I just can't begin to tell you, because I don't have the time, of the things that have happened to us up here, and your love for us and our love for you, and I want you to know that we know it. And thank you very much. It is my pleasure to introduce to you, for the presentation of the colors, the new Marblehead Militia. And get this now, gentlemen, from Windham, Maine. We will now have the Pledge of Allegiance led by Joe Casey of Dover, New Hampshire.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Gentlemen, please post the colors. While the nice people are seating, let me tell you of one rule we have, people, and we've had this rule in effect all during the weekend for our pageant presentations. There will be absolutely no traffic during any of the presentations starting as of now. If there are any movements to be made, either entering or exiting, they will be done in between. As long as anybody is on the floor or on the stage, there will be no traffic, and I'm sure you can understand why. These people have worked hard over the years. We have guests here who are performing for us we've never met, and we want to be polite to them. With that, it gives me a great deal of pleasure to present to you the Chancel Choir of Woodford's Congregational Church under the direction of Mrs. Virginia Debris, and they are going to sing America Our Heritage by Steely and arranged by Holly Aids. Our choir.
Let us bow together in prayer. O God, who made and preserved us a nation, to whom we look as the author of our liberties, We thank you for the quality of freedom that we know in this, our native land. We thank you for the struggle to preserve those liberties from those within and without who have lost or never had the dream. Renew within us the hope of those who came not for gold, but for God and God-given rights. For a new beginning in this, your latest experiment, we pray, God, may our bicentennial celebration be a time of rededication to what you have placed in our hearts and in our hopes. Amen.
Our invocation was given by the Reverend William A. Irish of the Woodfords Congregational Church. Now, while we're getting settled once more, I might explain to you nice people, nobody knows any better than I the hardness of the bleachers you were sitting on, because I don't have that much to sit on. And I know it can get tiring, and you go one side and then the other, and then, you know, where do you go from there? So what we're going to do about halfway through the program, we are going to allow about a 10 or possibly a 15-minute break so that you may get up, and I believe the quarterback club are out there, and we'll have refreshments. Jack Barry, are the boys out there, or will be? Okay. So if you can hold your uneasiness to that point, I think it will do for all of us, and we get our blood recirculated, and then we can sit down and enjoy the show to its end, okay? Now, at this point, and this is a little divergence from what we've had earlier, but our town crier has a little chore, and you people in Maine understand what chores are, I'm sure, a very nice one that he would like to do at this time. And Bill, I think perhaps you better come up here and use our mic.
Mr. Barry, would you come forward, please? Would you please join me on the stage? Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce to you Mr. Jack Barry, Chairman of the Special Events for the 17th Annual New England Square and Round Dance Convention, which includes this pageant that you are about to witness. And this pageant in Beale Gym has been made possible by Mr. Barry and the members of the Sunset Square Dancers. If any of the members of the Sunset Square Dancers are in the audience or in the lobby, please stand up, because I think the audience deserves to give you a round of applause. The Bicentennial Dance Pageant is going to be, I think, one of the highlights of the South Portland Bicentennial Celebration. And in recognition thereof, I would like to present Mr. Barry as a representative of the Sunset Squares with a small bicentennial flag to be flown at their meetings of the Sunset Square Dancers as a symbol of the bicentennial cooperation and spirit that they have shown.
Thank you, Bill. The bicentennial celebration of our great country has a different meaning for all of us and the various facets of our everyday existence. It is natural that those with a particular interest will celebrate in a way that they think proper and fitting. And it follows those interested in square dancing will naturally celebrate in a manner they believe fits the occasion. And that's what brings us here. When this great country of ours was founded, its beginning was inspired by the Declaration of Independence. The following is an excerpt from that document. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, and that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The pursuit of happiness, the catalyst which inspires us all and is ensured by life and liberty. For centuries, man seemed to have attained the heights of happiness when he was dancing, and especially square dancing, which to me also means contras and rounds. Dancing is one of the oldest forms of recreation. Now, anthropologists tell us apes and monkeys have been observed dancing in lines and circles. So you see, we're not so smart, because we're only doing what comes naturally. It is fitting and proper that the square dancers of New England and their friends at this 17th annual New England Square and Round Dance Convention celebrate the bicentennial by dancing and showing the history of the dance here in New England for the past 200 years. Most sections of our country have their own traditional dance. However, time does not allow a panorama of all, so we will be concentrating on a bit of what took place here in New England. Our first presentation is being made by Veronica's Vagabonds, and these nice young people come from the greater Boston area, and they are under the leadership of Veronica McClure. In the 16th century, formal balls were often part of a much larger entertainment that included stage shows and sit-down dinners, and the whole affair went for hours, sometimes days. Now the pavane was a slow, stately processional dance which allowed everyone the time to gracefully show off his or her finery while surveying the attendants to see who was there, with whom, and wearing what. We have found that some of the more elaborate steps of the pavane closely resemble some of the bows and honors prescribed for the 18th century, so we will make our entrance a pavane incorporating these bows. Veronica's Vagabonds with pavane. I'd like to say, but I better stick to the script. By the middle of the 17th century, the country dance was firmly ensconced in the English court and ballrooms, where it added variety to the program. There are three basic formations a country dance may take: a circle of dancers, two lines of dancers facing each other, better known as contralines, and the square. Now, from John Playford's collection of country dances called The English Dancing Master, and published in London in 1651, we will now see Newcastle, a square for four couples. Notice how the music and the dancing fit, and the interesting way it resolves to original partners and places. Veronica's Vagabonds, Newcastle. Beautiful. During the convention, we've had as our honored guest, and I don't know whether this name means anything to some of you people, but we've had a gentleman here by the name of Ralph Page, and he is New England's outstanding researcher and preserver of our tradition. And he has a remark, and I'd like to pass it on to you as it refers to this group and other things you will see this afternoon. They just dance with elegance, and I don't know any better word to describe it, and I think Ralph really put the words in our mouth for it. The queen of the 18th century dance says was the minuet. Now, old dancing manuals show clearly the relationship of correct dancing to everyday life for a gentleman and a lady. Bows and courtesies were a part of one's usual everyday routine. Now, it is interesting to note that curtsy was in 1728 spelled C-O-U-R-T-S-E-Y. And this tells us much about the importance of being correct, polite, and well-mannered. Now, the clothing of the day encased the women in very stiff corsets, which restricted movement in the torso. Hope you all know where your torso is. Hoops and panniers supported voluminous skirts and encouraged their wearers to glide so as to control their skirts. An up and down motion was achieved by bending the knees, but not the torso. Added grace and variety. Men sometimes wore corsets, and in the late 1600s and early 1700s, their coats were long and full-skirted. The shape and hang of the coat skirt was very important and helped by stiffening and wires. After going to such effort to share his coat, to shape his coat, pardon me, the gentleman made certain that he did not let his hands crush its flare. As the century progressed, men's coats became narrower and cut away, but the style of dancing the minuet remained the same. The coats our men are wearing are quite late in the century and resemble one in the Museum of Fine Arts, dated approximately 1789. The person of highest rank attending a ball automatically presided over the dance and was referred to as the presence, and was acknowledged before and after every dance. In the colonies, this was usually the royal governor or the highest elected or appointed official. Now here today, you, the audience, are the presence, and the opening and closing bows are directed to you as we show you now a minuet written by an English dancing master named Tomlinson and published in London in 1735. Tomlinson's Minuet by Veronica's Vagabonds. Dancing was always considered a necessary accoutrement to any self-respecting court. Because of courtly encouragement and sometimes competition, theatrical dancing developed. It was several centuries before social dancing and what is known as ballet separated. But the closeness of the two is revealed in the fact that the words ballet and ballroom both come from the same roots. We will now look at a contemporary gavotte choreographed by Marjorie Medlin of the Metropolitan Civic Ballet in Watertown, Mass., and set to music by Jean-Philippe Rameau, a French composer who supplied much music for the dances of his time and now. While we are not certain of the exact authenticity of this dance, it is faithful to the spirit of the music and the times, and all of its steps were known to the 18th century dancers, whether skilled amateurs or professionals. The gavotte. It continues to be elegant. I might say this in passing. There's a lesson here, square dancers. I'm not speaking to the general public now, but the square dancers. You notice how tenderly and carefully these gentlemen handle their ladies. My question to you is, have we lost something in the last 200 years? Sorry about that. After the Revolution in America, the dances were less ritualized. The English country dances, which were favored in America from the earliest colonization, continued to dominate the scene, the dancing scene. The French allies contributed their versions of the English country dance, known as quadrilles and cotillions. The times were ripe for experimentation, and dancing styles were liberally mixed. Our last sampling is from a manuscript dated 1790 and combines the minuet steps with a circle formation of English country dancing and tops it all off with a hey, which most of you will recognize as a grand right and left. Circle minuet. entered, they will exit with a pavane. Now, if we have to have any moving around or any exits or entrances, this is the time, people. And now I think you can appreciate why we made the rule, because you just can't have these nice people interrupted. And we are going to give you a break a little later on. I see some of you are taking a 7th inning stretch. Why don't we all take one? Sure, stand up and let it get down where it belongs, huh? Good. I bet that made things tingle that never tingled before. All right, now if you would reseat yourselves, please, we will continue. Thank you very much. You're a very kind and cooperative audience. I think it's appropriate that I could introduce this group, this next group, as old friends of mine, because I'm well acquainted with their leader, and I'm pretty well acquainted with most of the dancers. And it gives me a great deal of pleasure to bring forward the next group, and they are the Seacoast Square Dancers from over there in the Dover, New Hampshire area, and they are here with their leader, Joe Casey. Now, the Seacoast dancers will exhibit 2 early contras. Now, these contras are the triple minor variety, danced in groups of 3 couples, an active and 2 subactive couples. Not until about 1830 to 1850 did the every other couple active come into favor. Now, following the Revolution, Portsmouth, New Hampshire was one of the busiest seaports in our new nation. Our dancers are representing the wealthy merchants of the Seacoast area and have chosen costumes that are representative of the type of dress these people would have worn to a fancy ball in 1795. The first figure of this dance is called, Hay, and also appears in several dances found in a handbook of a Greenland, New Hampshire dance master by the name of Clemens Weeks. coming weeks. So we have evidence that this particular movement was danced in the seacoast area at this time. The manner in which the last figure of the dance, a right and left four, was danced back then should be interesting to all square dancers, and I'm sure you will recognize it as a square through. The Seacoast Square Dancers, Ways of the World with Joe Casey.
Form your sets for Ways of the World.
The second dance, My Heart's Desire, is from the Otsego, New York manuscripts dated in 1809, and it features a rather unique figure, the Grand Promenade. No one has been able to pinpoint exactly when the manner of dancing the right and left four changed, but we have chosen in this dance to use it the way it has been danced for at least the last 125 years. The music we are using for this dance is a revolutionary fife tune called On the Road to Boston, My Heart's Desire.
address your partners, escort your lady off the floor.
Well, they continue to dance with elegance. I guess I'm going to whip that word out. I love it. Now, if we have some entrance or exits, this is the time. Just as a little question of my own, I think I know the answer, but I'd like to have you give it to me. What do you think of it so far? It's terrific. And I would like to impress this on your mind where we're just resting a second or so. People, these are not professionals. These people are you. They're just you and I and people who take an interest in this type of thing and like to do the nice things in life. And I think we're getting a good example of it. And we're going to continue because it gives me a great deal of pleasure to also announce that we have another group here, likewise from New Hampshire. And they are the Heel and Toe Square Dancers of Merrimack, New Hampshire. And they're with their leader, Tom Noonan of Londonderry, New Hampshire. Now, like our previous group, the Heel and Toe Dancers are going to dance two revolutionary contras, and they are British Sorrow from Salvatore, 1807. Now, the original manuscript for this dance lies in the Harvard Library, Harvard University, Cambridge, Mass. The second dance, Doubtful Shepherd, is sometimes called Kiss Your Granny. It is from the Otsego, New York manuscript, a select collection of the newest and most favorite country dances as performed at all court and all grand assemblies. Now, British Sorrow and Doubtful Shepherd and the two contras danced by the Seacoast dancers are the result of the research by Ralph Page of Keene, New Hampshire, who I mentioned earlier, and are published in his new book, Heritage Dances of Early America. Keep in mind, when a date is given of a published dance, it was in most cases danced for at least 10 years previous to publication, and the origin of the dance might go back even further in time. Now, the third dance by the Heel and Toe Dancers is one figure, possibly of 5, from the military Lancers, and generally there were 5 figures. Now, they tell us we inherited the Lancers from France, and one might ask the difference between a Lancer, quadrille, or a square. Each require 4 couples, all facing the center of an imaginary square. 2 couples with their backs to either the front or back of the hall, the other 2 couples with their backs to the side walls. So you determine the difference. I guess they're synonymous. And so it is a great deal of pleasure I present to you the Heel and Toe Square Dancers from Merrimack, New Hampshire, and Tom Noonan, their leader.
Thank you. I'd like to add a little historical note here. We imported into Nutfield, New Hampshire, from the Seacoast region, a couple of Joe Casey's ship fitters to build our necessary when we needed it out beyond the town hall. Bow to your partners. Actives down the outside, below 2. Up the center with your own, cast off. Right hand star below. And the left hand star above. Into your lines and circle 6 to the right. Top 4 in each set, right and left. Right and left back. Actives down the outside, below 2. Up the center with your own, cast off. Right hand star below. Left hand star above you. Into your own line, circle 6 to the right. Top 4, right and left. And back. Actives go below 2. Up the center with your own. And cast off. To a right-hand star below you. Left-hand star above you. 6 hands around to the right. Top couple in each set becomes active next time around. Top 4, right and left. Right and left back. All the actives go below, outside. 2 people. Up the center with your own. Cast off. Right-hand star below. And a left-hand star above. In your own line, circle 6 to the right. Top 4 in each set. Right and left across. And back. Join hands up and down the line. Go forward and back. And bow to your partner.